everyone. This is Ben Dunn, your AP Sensei, founder of Antarctic Press, a comic book publishing company that started in 1985, celebrating its 41st anniversary, and creator of such comics as Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Marvel Mangaverse, and a host of other things, and Tomorrow Girl. So, the header is what could the Marvel comic industry survive without Marvel and DC? Well, the reason I bring this up is because apparently Paramount Pictures is buying Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers owns DC Comics, and thus by default, Paramount will own DC Comics. Now, Paramount is a movie studio, and they are not, comic book publishers. So, while many people may think that there's no chance that DC Comics will ever go away, I'm not so sure about that. When Paramount buys Warner Brothers, or eventually buys Warner Brothers, one of the first things that happens is that they get rid of a lot of redundancy. They're going to fire people. They're going to try to cost in because it's a lot of money they just put up for it. So what is the fate of DC Comics? Well, I don't know for sure, to be honest, but I can speculate, and I'm going to speculate right now. Now, I could be wrong, and it's possible that I will be wrong. And if I am wrong, then I'm more than willing to admit that mistake. But if perchance that there is a possibility that Paramount may decide that we no longer are interested in publishing new comics, why do we even need DC Comics? We have plenty of their characters. We got more than enough stories. There's no reason for us to do it. Many people say, oh, well, let's keep DC Comics just for the marketing. Well, this comes to a point where is the marketing even worth it? Is it even doing anything? Is it moving the needle? They may decide it's not worth it, especially with all the headaches that come with it. They're dealing with the creators who are, attacking their fans, creating material that is no longer popular anymore. They may decide that they may just want to shut the publishing end of DC Comics down. So that begs the question, can the comic book industry survive without DC? And what if Walt Disney decides, we're going to follow in Paramount's lead and get rid of the Marvel comics, and decide that it's not worth it to them either? So if both of them were to disappear, just as speculation tomorrow, would the comic industry survive? That's a tricky question because, first of all, the Marvel and DC are a huge chunk of the comic book industry. At least in the direct market sales, because comic book retailers have decided that were the two companies they were going to support, not realizing that they should have been supporting a whole host of other publishers, in order to gain, diversify, as they say, the product line. And unfortunately, they did not. They did not diversify their product line. They went all in on Marvel and DC because that's what people grew up with. I'm not blaming them. Marvel retailers, I don't fault them for doing that. Now, I'm noticing that some retailers are now trying to do that. They're trying to diversify into other products. They're not as slavishly devoted to Marvel and DC as the early days of the direct market, where it was all just Marvel and DC. Things have changed quite a bit since then. The independent industry has grown, crowdfunding has grown, digital has grown. Things are changing to show that you can be a success in comics without relying on Marvel and DC. And I even say that perhaps it might actually be better if there was no Marvel and DC. This way the field will be wide open to anybody who has got a good product that can enter the market. And to be honest, if the Paramount and Warner Brothers, Paramount and Disney decided to license, the characters will still survive and they'll be making money doing nothing. They'll just it's possible that another independent comic book company may decide to license the Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all those other characters, and just pay a licensing fee to the big companies. It's still marketing to them, and it costs them nothing. There's too many pluses to go. Now, yes, there's going to be a huge seismic shift if Marvel and DC were to suddenly stop publishing new material. Will the comic industry survive? I don't know. It's would probably take a big, huge hit especially with a huge amount of that product suddenly disappears off the shelves. And they do create a lot of product, for comic retailers to sell. The thing is that would other companies fill in that vacuum? That's the question that needs to be asked. And who would fill that vacuum? Because that's just nature abhors a vacuum, and who's going to now? It's possible that Image may come a rise up, but the thing about Image is that it's mostly creator-owned material now. Most of the company IPs no longer exist, and even if they do exist in some fashion, they're nearly as impactful as Marvel and DC has been over the almost 100 plus years of publishing. It will probably be greatly diminished. It will probably shrink, but I believe that as long as there are independent creators out there who are willing, and publishers out there who are willing to maintain a product output that is will find a new audience and becomes popular, the industry will recover. It will eventually recover. The trouble is how long will it take, and whether or not how big a hit it will take. So my conclusion is that yes, the comic industry will survive. How, in what form, that remains to be seen. Will Marvel and DC disappear? I would probably put the odds, probably at, I would say 80-20, where 80% they'll probably survive. But, there's always that small chance that they may do something. The owners, remember, they are owned. They're no longer independent publishers on their own, which Marvel and DC were, separate companies. But once a bigger company buys a smaller company, they can do whatever they want with it. Should they decide tomorrow it's not worth it, we'll have they can do it. They can shut it down. They can just say it's not worth it. And therefore, and they would have they would probably actually sell off the name. They probably say, hey, you want to buy Marvel, the name Marvel? You want to buy the name DC? That actually is worth money in of itself. And somebody may actually buy that. They may not get the characters. They may not get the anything else other than just the name, but the name has some cachet, and if they can do something with it, then it's possible that they may continue publishing. We'll have to wait and see, So I'm just speculating here. I totally could be wrong. You could disagree with me. I like to hear other people's opinions on it, and I would love to hear what you have to say. So. Please subscribe. I would love to have you part of my day. We'll have a live stream on Sunday, and we can talk this particular topic if you want to. So until next time, this has been Dunn signing off.